Hello, hello, hello. You tuned in to the number one podcast, How I Fell in Love with Nature. My name is Dr. Derrick Drakeford. Listen, when I was a kid, my dad would take me to 4-H camps. It was the first experience I had in nature, and I fell in love with it, the energy. So now, my family, we own and run 4 campsites around North Carolina and Maryland. You can find out more information at lakefrontcampsites.com. But today we're just honored, we're blessed to have this brother, Dr. Thomas Easley is famous, and he's famous for loving nature. But I want to know, how did it start? When did it start? So I want to ask him the question, Dr. Easley, how did you fall in love with nature?
That's a great question, Dr. Drakeford. And I think, I fell in love with nature, but I think I fell more into respect of nature, more so than love. But definitely the love is there. It started gardening with my grandparents. So that's where, and I think that's where seeing that the outdoors, nature or our resources have something to give us. It continued on when I was Boy Scout, became an Eagle Scout. When I saw, oh man, I can commune. I didn't use that word then as a kid. I was like, oh, I can commune out here. I can be here. I can do things. So it wasn't just eating. Now it's like doing things. Then, if you've been stranded outdoors, I learned the frustration of it. Especially when you don't respect it, which is why I'm going to get to the respect part. When you're like, say, if a car breaks down, or tire blows out and you went camping and a storm came and now all your stuff is blown away. So now I also have experienced the agitation with it, like, man, and feeling like it wasn't for me and feeling like it's against me. Then I was reminded of something years later that my grandfather told me when I was younger, like being in relationship with trees. Like he'll say, little smart things every so often, but I never understood it. Like that tree is your relative. So you fast forward. I think it's cool to fast forward, like to when I'm working in Montana and I'm working with the Forest Service. And that's when I really started seeing that, oh, in the capital system, why money off of this? And so then in some ways, I believe that's where the lust of nature came in, because now it's about making money. And lo and behold, after I go back into academia, I become a geneticist and I go back into academia. And then I start interacting with a lot of people, coming in contact with, people like yourself, coming in contact with indigenous people who either own land or who have a relationship with the land. And I think that's where I am now. Whereas it's more like I feel like I have a relationship, with the outdoors. Yes, I love it. More importantly, I respect it and I'm doing my best to honor it, every day, especially as I learn new things. And I'll say something, then I'll stop. This conference that I just came from, I was just at a conference up in Pennsylvania, and I was listening to a presentation. They're talking about reintroducing the American marten. Just like I think it's in the same family like with foxes, I believe, but the American marten back into the ecosystem there in the state, like in the mountains and stuff. And they were talking about, the impact it could have on other wildlife. But the gentleman who's doing the presentation, which he did very well, by the way, he started the presentation talking about like his children and them having a legacy and them seeing this animal or them engaging with this animal. And I have to be honest, for a moment, it just sounded like another white man dominating the lane. Because I'm like, why do your children have to see this animal? Like, why is it so important that your family sees something? And that's why I want to not challenge you, Dr. Drakeford, because that's not, but challenge that notion of what it means to fall in love with something. Because I think that that's what a lot of people who have destroyed the forest, that's exactly what happened. I think they fell in love with it. and they called it unregulated harvesting. It wasn't unregulated, that was people's behavior until they destroyed the resource so much. Oh, and now we have to backtrack and change our behavior and change how we harvest out there. So my thing is, if you love something, then you'll give to it. If you love something, but it doesn't give you the way you want to, you still love it. You still respect it. And when you really love something, you're always making sure that what you give and what you take is like it's like you're always trying to make sure that you're in balance, because you don't want to take from it too much, because you want it to love you. And then my thing is, now that I understand how, in some ways more, how to engage with the outdoors, it's kind of like talking about God or the universe. The outdoors has always loved me. The problem was my relationship with it. You see, and so like I start my day every day, like I'm barefoot now because I just came from outside. I go outside and I feed the birds, but I do it barefoot. I literally walk outside on the grass for at least an hour a day like that, because I understand that it's like there's a current that we get when these parts of our bodies touch the ground. It's like an electrical current, And so I think that when people, so see, that's the thing. So here's a sign for me that you're not in love with the force, but you're in lust with it. You hunt on a full stomach, just like the old Chris Rock joke. Like, really, that's what we do. We hunt on a full stomach. We fish on a full stomach. That's lust, because you're doing something that you don't have to do, and you're taking from it where someone else can actually use it. So that's my notion. I hope it came clear. I don't want to talk too long, because I know it's a small amount, but I hope that I said some things. And if there are any questions about it or thoughts about it, I love to talk. So
listen, we want to put these thoughts out into the universe. It makes me think about men who beat their wives and then say that they love them.
Ooh.
How are we stewarding, nurturing, and caring for nature as that bride? We have. Go ahead, Doc.
I got an answer for that one. That's a powerful example. I don't know what that. I know you don't either. I don't know what it means to do that, but to put my hands on the woman, but the truth is, I actually like that analogy because it's dealing with abuse and dealing with this misunderstanding of power and this misuse of power and all, and to me, in all honesty. And I think that there's a confusion that people have. They're confusing domination with respect. They're confusing being able to. They're confusing privilege and benefit with love and respect. Because what some people think is, as long as I can go out and harvest and cut down, and replant, I'm doing just fine. See, that's the ignorance behind it. Because what a lot of people, and I'm talking about people in my, because you famous too. So when they see it, I know it's probably going to upset people, but I'm doing this now when I'm in public spaces, especially when I'm talking to people who are in my discipline. I talk about how we have a lot of wrong messages about the forestry profession. So number one message, I'll give you 4. I hope it comes back to me because I just presented on the day before yesterday. Number one wrong idea is that foresters are just capitalists. The foresters are not just capitalists. As a matter of fact, foresters are almost like military people. They follow orders well because they do what other companies tell them to do. Because if we're capitalists, then the rest of human society is capitalist. Because if you just want to enjoy paper towels, toilet paper, paper plates, and living in a wood house, then you're a capitalist too. Because what foresters are providing is that resource for people to enjoy. So that's the first part. So if I'm a capitalist, then you must be one. The next one is foresters are destroyed. Forestry is the reason climate change because of the old all of that. Now, I'm not going to disagree with that. What I will not allow for me is that forestry is the only reason that climate change is of these issues that we have, because it's not. You want to know why there's real climate change? Then just go to an urban environment where there used to be forest. Oh, it's called Raleigh and Chapel Hill. And who's cutting down those? And who's fighting for those? Like, I respect organizations like Dogwood Alliance in particular that fights for big forests and also for small ones too. So they do it. And so I just want to challenge those other organizations. What are you doing with the smaller forests that are still standing? That are being turned into green spaces Give me a break. The next misinterpretation of forestry is all foresters do is cut down trees. That's all that they do. And that is untrue. That is not all that foresters do. Foresters don't just cut down trees. Matter of fact, foresters, most of us try to be conscientious about the types of cuts that we do so that we're not cutting down everything. It's like we try to do shelter wood or seed tree, where when you cut, you leave something behind so they can reseed the land. Okay, so I got that. And a lot of times when they do clear cuts, they come back and they replant. They really do. However, the challenge I have is, but are we planting what is needed back in that environment that we just harmed? Or are we planting in the future? And so let's say if I'm planting, if I just cut down a big stand, that's what we say, but if I cut down a big part of land that has loblolly pines on it, that has oaks on it, and then the only thing I come back and do is plant loblolly pine, then what's going to happen to that? You see what I'm saying? You see what happens in 5, 10, 20 years, right? Yeah, I may be able to come back and harvest, but it's that soil back where it was before I brought my lustful self in there and took it. The answer is no, because one piece of damage on soil is probably more than 100 years of damage that you can't just repair. So that's where I challenge people in my profession who want to heal the environment, which we do. And I help us to see that we're also harming it the same. Just as the people who want to fight for the environment, who claim that they don't do anything, I'm like, yes, you do. Tell me where you got your clothes from. Matter of fact, tell me how you got out there to the environment. Did you drive? Did you fly? Okay, you're increasing carbon at the same time. So there's no innocence here. So what I like to encourage people to do is fall in respect of nature. The same way you will fall in respect of a person when you're in love with them or when you're in relationship with them, fall in respect with them. That means that when they agitate you, you just don't walk away. You try to find out how it works. When they love you, you love on them some more. When they give you what you want, you can give it, give them some. But for me, I think we should treat the outdoors like we treat people. And that's the reason why I think the only way environmental justice movement works is when you have people also talking about saving nature. Because who we saving nature from? We're not saving nature from itself. A big storm comes through. Animals even know how to avoid a big storm, not us. The geologists and all of that, it's the animals. They know what to do. And when it's all done, the animals still come back, and you burn down the forest, the animals know how to get away and come back and eat off the land. Big storm comes through, they know how to run to the top of the mountain to avoid the currents and everything, and then come back down. So, if people are going to be in love, then they need to be observant. They need to show the respect. They need to honor. And when I say it's sure, this is what I try to do with people, that it's in a better state than it was when you leave than it was when you came in first contact with it. That's how you know you're in love with something.
Woo! You dropped the heat today, Doc. Thank you for teaching us what we need to know. Yeah. Listen, this is Dr. Derrick Drakeford. I've been here with Dr. Easley. If you don't know, now you know. Matter how long it takes. We got an internship called Glamping for Tomorrow. Check us out on the website. lakefrontcampsites.com. lakefrontcampsites.com. Thank you so much. See you in the future. Peace, brother.
Peace.
Spiraling up, just like a rich nigga staircase. No fly zone. Please stay the fuck out my airspace. Niggas say things behind backs. They wouldn't dare say. No, it's on sight when I see